I will say that it is so important for us to really recognize that we don't need to be somebody that men want us to be. We can attract the exact person that is right for us by accepting ourselves and knowing that we really are whole, perfect, and complete.
Welcome to yourbrilliance.com. I'm your host, Amy Waterman. Have you ever wondered what your ex was thinking after you guys broke up? Like, was he suffering? Did he finally figure out he lost the best thing he ever had? And were those party pictures he posted on Facebook proof that he was drinking himself into a stupor just to get over you? Well, you're never going to know the answer because he's not going to tell you, and his friends probably aren't going to tell you either. But there is one person he might tell: his breakup coach. Yes, some men hire a breakup coach to help them get over their ex. And today we'll be talking to breakup coach Nancy Ruth Deen about what men are really thinking when they go through a breakup. Nancy is a certified coach, a former matchmaker, and a personal development junkie. She was inspired to start her business after realizing how few people seek support after a relationship ends. Today, she works with men and women all over the world, helping them process their breakups in a healthy, conscious way. Her work has appeared in Cosmopolitan, Bustle, and many more. Welcome, Nancy.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
So I want to start out with, how in the world did you get started coaching men?
Well, now I coach men and women, but what I found so interesting was when I was working in professional matchmaking, I actually worked mostly with men. So being that kind of my first experience coaching men through love and dating was kind of a miraculous way to see exactly what's going on in the male brain when it comes to dating. So when I was matching people up, I had just kind of noticed naturally, it wasn't something I was looking for, just how much they were either looking to repeat old dating patterns or just kind of look for their ex in someone new. So after a few years of being in the industry, I thought, okay, there's something going on here. And even though some people were going to therapists, which is great, many weren't. And no one really knows how to date or what to look for or why they want to date who they want to date. So I decided to stop matchmaking because nobody was really that interested in looking at their dating patterns there, and create a business where people could actually come talk about their breakups, talk about breaking old dating patterns, noticing them so that you can deconstruct them and actually find what it is that works for you in dating so you can have a healthy relationship.
Well, what is interesting though is that we tend to think that guys don't really seek help getting over breakups. As you said, we don't even think that guys, and we know that we have patterns. We know we have dating patterns as women, but guys, we get the sense, and it's a stereotype, right? The guys are just oblivious to all of that. Like, they break up with a girlfriend on Monday. By Friday, they got a new girlfriend. Are men really motivated to actually look at what's happening and try and break those patterns?
To my surprise, and I don't know if this is because they're paying for help, but I get the sense when I'm coaching men that they are genuinely coming because they are looking to work through something. What that something is, they may not necessarily know when they are coming into the door, but they are naturally aware that there is something to be done here because men are humans too, and they love to work on themselves too, but it might show up a little differently. So it's kind of interesting to see that we do have this idea of how men go through breakups. And then when they come to me, it's like, oh, okay, well, they do want to work on themselves. And so that's where we take that process.
So I want to know, because we all want to know, right? Are the guys suffering after a breakup as much as we are?
Guys are struggling just as much as women. And it looks different, right? We, as you mentioned, and this is something I think we've all witnessed, whether it's through our friends or even ourselves, that guys do tend to move on, quickly, whatever that looks like, whether that's a rebound or an actual relationship. And us ladies, we just can't seem to get it together even after a few years. So we're kind of thinking like, what is this discrepancy? But the conversation isn't you're over your ex, therefore you're dating somebody new, but more about what you're experiencing, and are you actually moving on just because you are dating somebody new, right?
So that is really, really interesting. So let's say there's a woman out there who's got an ex in mind and she's thinking about him and she's like, he couldn't have really loved me because he was dating a new girlfriend within like a couple weeks or months after we split up. Maybe that's not true. Is it true that maybe this new girlfriend was just a diversion from the heartbreak of losing you?
It's completely possible. I mean, people are coping in the different ways that they know how, and sometimes really being able to look at our feelings. I think even for women too, a lot of women are very in touch with their feelings, and a lot of women aren't as in touch. And for men, they are just looking to potentially distract themselves. But I can say the same thing for women. I remember interesting story with somebody I knew a few years ago. She kind of shook this concept that guys are very different than women in the way that they show up after a breakup. And so this woman had come to me. She had said that she was absolutely devastated and blindsided by the end of a relationship. They dated for 11 months, and she just went on and on about feeling blindsided and devastated and couldn't understand what happened. But the next day I checked in with her and she said she was going on a Tinder date. And I thought to myself, how interesting. Yesterday you were blindsided and devastated over this breakup. Today you are dating. So sometimes we just look at the behavior, but we don't check in to see what's going on behind the scenes. So with ladies, we're trying to be anthropologists for men and being like, what is going on here? And then we just look at their behavior and assign a meaning to that, as opposed to looking at potentially what's going on deeper.
Yes. One of the things I really notice too with women is that we tend to get a lot of our breakup coaching informally through our girlfriends, right? Because our girlfriends are always there for us. If you go through a breakup, that is when really the troops rally and your girlfriends come and they'll trash your ex with you and they'll just talk with you. Do guys get similar support from their male friends?
In my experience, I'm asking this exact question to my clients, and it's actually remarkable. Many of the men that I'm working with do say that they've got a good support system and that they do have friends who are open to talking in this way. And for me, I'm seeing guys who are conscious minded, which means that they are wanting to be a little bit more intentional and they are willing to look deeper. So in that, it doesn't surprise me to hear that guys are also surrounding themselves with people who are open to sharing and hearing.
That is fantastic. So let's go into breakup coaching then. What exactly does a breakup coach do?
I do a few different things. The way that I section off my business is should we break up and what to do after a breakup. And the reason I do that is because there are two different mentalities, two different focuses. Both of them, we're all experiencing a tremendous amount of fear. And that's something that's really important to acknowledge. We're scared. We might come to breakup coaching because we want to fix our relationships, whether we want to fix it before the breakup or fix it after the breakup. And so what I do is people will come to me, they'll share their story, and then I want to find out, are they interested? Again, I mentioned those dating patterns. Our dating patterns are through our beliefs that we make up when we are very young, that show up in every area of our lives. Are people ready for this? That's what I want to suss out when people are coming to breakup coaching, because we've gotten here. We want healthy relationships. We want to work on our relationships. We want to work and find ourselves after a breakup. That's the point of breakup coaching. It's not just a shoulder to cry on, because I know you've got that at home. You've got your social support. So people come when they're feeling ready to really look inside and see why isn't this relationship working out? Or why didn't this relationship work out? What is my contribution? How was I showing up that contributed to this?
Do people ever come to you and ask for you to help them get their ex back?
People have definitely said, Nancy, the reason why I'm reaching out to you is because I was actually Googling how to get my ex back, but then I started looking into your stuff, and then I started thinking, is that really what I want? And so people are often very much in that first stage of the breakup where it's like, oh my gosh, how do I get my ex back? Because they don't know who they would be without their ex. So of course they're strategizing on how to do that.
So one of the things I really, really like about your work is that you look at the stories we tell ourselves about our relationships. Could you elaborate on that?
Yes. So many of us are dating subconsciously. We are attracting, we're maintaining partners subconsciously. If you took Psych 101 or happened to read any kind of psychology book, you may have heard of attachment styles. But quickly, when it comes to telling this story we have about ourselves, this story that we have is created by these beliefs that we have when we're very young. We kind of assign meaning to things. It's quite an in-depth process to really look at, but we're very young. We create simple meanings based on our caregivers and our parents and our interactions with them. And then we just live our lives with these little hidden beliefs. And so when we go into our adult relationships, we have these stories, right? Because when we have beliefs, we create stories that serve as evidence for the belief that we have that we don't even know that we have. So hopefully I'm not losing anyone here, but you go into these relationships and then you suddenly ask questions like this. You might say, why does every guy I date leave me? Or why does every guy I date treat me like crap? Why do I give way more than I get? Why does this keep happening? Why do I always date good-looking guys, and always feel so inadequate with them? Like, what's going on? And it can just feel so real. It can feel like you're the only one going through it, but all of us have a story until we investigate what these beliefs are that have created this story. And once we do that, then we can actually start to say, wow, I'm going to date for me and what I want and what I need in a relationship, and not because of this sort of victim story that we create that we don't know we created in the first place.
So I want to talk about, like, let's look at one of those, like, all the guys I date always leave me. I think a lot of women would say, but actually that's true, because every time I've had a boyfriend, he's always been the one who's left. How do we distinguish between what's story and what's fact?
Okay, I love this question. And it's, of course, going to be deeper, but I'll try and share just a little bit where we can get some of this insight. So let's say our exact words. These are our words that we're using. We look at our words, not the subject or the essence necessarily. But if I am saying, every guy leaves me, we might be able to think, what is that feeling? Like, what does it feel like when a guy leaves me? And if that's absolutely heartbroken, like you're completely shook, you are super depressed, like that's what you want to name it, then you can kind of go back to that initial feeling of when you first felt that way. When did you first discover that emotion? Because when we have an emotion, it's guided by a belief, and that belief is created when we are very young. So when we are able to get ourselves to a calm state, go back to see what happened there. How did that story start to come to fruition? We just go back into the past and see it from that lens. So we might be able to discover that if our story is all men leave me, then we might be able to discover that one day we were feeling that we really wanted to connect with our dad. Like we just needed our dad that day. Doesn't matter why, that's not important. We're kids. And all of a sudden our dad he has to go to work. he had to go to work that day, and he didn't know what you were feeling. He didn't know what was going on for you. And he's like, I've got to go. And maybe those are even his exact words. I've got to go. I've got to leave right now. And all of a sudden, as a kid, you don't even know it, but it just changes you. It starts going into it starts transforming you. And then you're like, wow, like all the men I love leave me. My dad left me. Like I physically saw it, right? And that was so real for you as a kid that you bury it, you store it. It's now a belief. And then you move through the world, and then you push men away. This is where it gets this is where it gets the big step here is our conversation is about all men leave me. But because this belief is so strong in our bodies and our minds, we actually act in relationships in such a way that pushes men away so that they will leave.
Wow. It's really quite deep. I mean, because that's why if you spot the story, you can actually change your own behavior and then change who you attract.
Yes. And I feel that it's important for me to actually address, because for some of us listening here, we might be like, whoa, like that's really intense. That's not me. And also this conversation is triggering me. But I can tell you, this was the type of stuff that I did when I started noticing my own dating patterns. I was feeling really alone, really stressed out because I thought I was quite a catch, but I never fully felt, adequate enough to be in a healthy, loving relationship. So I would often date guys who, almost to be frank with you, now that I've done the work, I was really attracting men that I put on a pedestal. And when I did that subconsciously, I was reminding myself and proving the belief that I'm inadequate. And when I did the work and I said, Nancy, oh my gosh, my birthright is to be happy, to love, and to be loved, and that I'm fully adequate, whole, and complete exactly as I am. And in combination with studying attachment styles, if we want to talk more about that, we definitely can. That was what showed me that, oh my gosh, there's a belief that's been hanging around and I never really looked at it. And now look where we can go from here. And so here I am in a really healthy relationship that's extremely promising. So I'm my own testimonial that I love to share that part with people.
That's fantastic. And you've actually got a special offer for Your Brilliance viewers who would like to work with you some more.
Yes, so I'm offering a discount for the ladies who are specifically listening, who want some coaching, whether that's they want to get into their ideal relationship and they're really curious what are the patterns that are holding them back, or they have their relationship and they really want to improve and check out those dating patterns or those beliefs that are going on. And so we're going to just post the link and have the ladies go straight to the page, and there'll be a little discount code for you guys for your first session with me.
Fantastic. So if you want to go and check that out, go to yourbrilliance.org/breakup, yourbrilliance.org/breakup, and we will post the discount code in the comments below. Thank you, Nancy, for coming onto the show. And I wondered if you had any last message you would like to leave our viewers with.
You know what? There's so many messages that come through, especially when it comes to women. But I will say that it is so important for us to really recognize that we don't need to be somebody that men want us to be. We can attract the exact person that is right for us by accepting ourselves and knowing that we really are whole, perfect, and complete.
Fantastic. Thank you much. And thank you out there for watching. We hope to see you again soon. Until then, let your brilliance shine.